In a stunning move that has sent shockwaves throughout the entire automotive industry, General Motors has announced that it will be permanently halting production of its best-selling electric vehicle, the Chevy Bolt, which currently makes up over 95% of the company's EV sales, and was the fifth best-selling EV in the United States last year. GM CEO Mary Barra, who led the decision, broke the abrupt news to investors during GM's recent quarterly earnings report, citing that the Bolt production would be replaced and retooled to produce electric trucks. Ironically, the Chevy Bolt, GM's flagship EV, is hitting record production and record sales, meaning the decision is likely to have significant impact on GM's EV strategy and electrification goals. This move also comes at a time when General Motors is facing increased competition from Tesla, especially as Elon Musk moves to aggressively cut costs and price on all Tesla models, making the top-selling electric vehicles in the world more affordable for consumers. This is putting mounting pressure on legacy automakers who are struggling to turn a profit on their EV programs. And against the difficult economic backdrop, the final farewell to GM's Chevy Bolt could be a major setback for the company's future prospects. And before we continue, stop using Yahoo Finance, stop using Google Finance, and have a look at our website, themarketisopen.com, where we have instant stock quotes and a brand new set of financial data going back 15 years, and it's all freely available. General Motors was once a pioneer in the electric vehicle space with the launch of its EV1 in 1996, which was one of the first mass-produced electric cars. However, the company controversially ended the program in 2003, citing financial losses and limited demand, and ultimately repossessing and crushing the vehicles. In fact, Elon Musk has cited the discontinuation of the EV1 program as one of the reasons he founded Tesla, as he saw a need for a company dedicated to the development and production of electric vehicles. But now, decades later, CEO Mary Barra is killing off yet another one of GM's electric cars. This time, their most popular Chevy Bolt is getting shelved. The Bolt accounts for over 95% of GM's EV sales, having sold almost 20,000 in the first quarter of this year, far above the near 1,000 Cadillac Lyriqs it sold, along with just 2 Hummer EVs. By the end of this year, General Motors will cease production of the Bolt EV and the larger EUV version. But to be frank, in the last few years, the Bolt has been an absolute nightmare for General Motors, specifically around the battery fires and recalls on this vehicle, which also caused production to be halted for an extended period of time. One of the reasons that Mary Barra is stopping production for good on this vehicle is cited to be due to the older battery design. Newer vehicles such as the GMC Hummer EV and the Cadillac Lyriq use GM's Ultium architecture, for which they've heavily invested in, having built 4 factories around this technology. That said, both the older Chevy Bolt batteries and the newer Ultium cells will be manufactured by LG, and they're both pouch-based cells, which Elon Musk has previously recommended against due to higher probability of potential thermal runaway. Nevertheless, GM appears to be freeing up factory capacity to focus its resources on vehicle models that the company believes will be better suited for the future, namely large SUVs and trucks. Historically, the US automakers have shifted away from smaller vehicles. In the 1970s and 80s, they began to lose the smaller vehicle market to more fuel-efficient, reliable, and cost-effective vehicles being imported from Japan and Europe. As a result, however, American automakers focused on trucks and SUVs, which became more profitable in the US market, albeit ceding the small vehicle market to foreign automakers. GM appears to be following this same playbook, especially since trucks and SUVs command premium pricing, while smaller cars are more competitive and difficult to stay afloat on margins and profitability. But this may be an opportunity for another US automaker, Tesla, to pick up the lost Bolt sales with its top-selling Model 3 and Model Y, both of which remain profitable even after drastic price cuts, and likely help to confirm GM's decision to move away from the small vehicle market. Tony Sacconaghi, a stock analyst at Bernstein, was asked just a few days ago about Tesla's price cuts and how companies like General Motors would be planning to respond. He stated that incumbents are deep-pocketed and wouldn't back down, even if it takes more money to make the EV transition with bigger losses. He thinks the OEMs are going to go along with this because the key metric for investors, he believes, is how quickly can companies transition to electric. However, it seems that Tony Sacconaghi was quickly proven wrong. He may need to redo his long-term thesis on Tesla if it's dependent on traditional OEMs crushing their own margins and taking losses for years. It doesn't seem like General Motors wants to go that route, and they're willing to take virtually all their electric vehicles off the market and essentially restart from square one. Tesla took losses for about 17 years, and so everyone else in the industry, be it newcomers or legacy players, who have only been working on EVs for a few years, are still far behind Tesla's cost curve. GM is basically one of the industry veterans, with the Chevy Bolt coming out in 2016, and they're still taking losses on it. When the Chevy Bolt was first launched, it was said to be losing up to $9,000 per car. But just in the last year or so, inflation has propelled raw costs higher, and supply chains have been a major headwind on production. It's likely that GM loses significantly more money per vehicle now, and again, GM's EV division, along with the Chevy Bolt, is one of the oldest around, and so other players may be in even worse positions. Ford, for instance, is said to be currently losing an astounding $35,000 per EV that they sell. Ford breaks out its entire EV division, however, making this number easier to calculate, whereas General Motors embeds it within the rest of their ICE business, so their deficit per vehicle as part of their EV division as a whole may be closer to Ford's outrageous losses. General Motors even tried slashing prices on the Bolt by $6,000 in the middle of last year, and interestingly, the vehicle also qualifies for the full $7,500 tax credits, one of the few cars at high volume that gets the full IRA credit in the US. Yet clearly this vehicle isn't where GM wants it to be, and with the recent announcement of discontinuing the car, interest from consumers will likely fall off a cliff. Moreover, the company's Cruise subsidiary, which is responsible for automated driving in various cities, primarily uses Chevy Bolts to retrofit additional sensors like LiDAR, radar, cameras, and GPS. The division may have additional work ahead of itself to phase out the Bolt and adapt the sensor suite to other vehicles, including its own dedicated robotaxi model, if it wants to continue scaling. So the discontinuation of the Bolt could impact other parts of GM's business. But the company is certainly making some bold moves, and that could have short-term detriments in the hopes that they play out as beneficial in the future. GM also announced that it would be dropping Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in favor of a new built-in infotainment system that it will still be developing along with Google. While in the short term, this could isolate some customers with iPhones or Androids, longer term, this appears to be a good decision for GM to have a more integrated system and collect more of their own data. GM plans to charge users for a variety of subscription services down the road, and so this move may lead to various services long term, such as insurance and other features that it can leverage to charge consumers more money. While the restructuring underway at General Motors suggests that the company is positioning itself for the future, there are still some other factors that could throw a wrench into GM's plans. The biggest looming threat is Tesla's Cybertruck, which will go head-to-head against GM's strategy of betting its entire vehicle lineup on larger trucks and SUVs. Tesla has set its eyes on Ford, the leader in the pickup truck space, but Cybertruck could impact GM's top-selling Chevy Silverado and the GMC Sierra. Both of these trucks are intended to re-enter the market as electric versions later this year and early next year. However, the critical piece will be how quickly GM can ramp up production of these pickups. Larger vehicles inherently use larger batteries, which are in tight supply. We currently see that GM's Hummer EV is having trouble scaling with a massive 212 kilowatt-hour battery pack, as General Motors only sold 2 of them so far this year, down 97% from Q4 2022. Tesla has been planning its 4680 battery cell ramp-up, for which the Cybertruck will rely on, and they're already shipping thousands of Model Ys containing these new batteries. So the 4680 ramp will go head-to-head with Ultium cells, in a race of who can scale faster. While Tesla has a track record of scaling quickly, as demonstrated by their 2 new gigafactories in Berlin and Austin, each of which are now producing at a rate of more than 200,000 EVs per year, GM has so far only been able to scale the electric Chevy Bolts, which will soon no longer exist. While the cancellation of this product will free up the battery cells, as GM previously stated, these are old cell designs that GM is no longer keen on using. So the fate of General Motors rests on their drastic maneuvers to right the EV business and shift towards electric trucks, while in the meantime, Tesla is about to hit the entire truck industry with full force as the Cybertruck begins deliveries in the 3rd quarter of this year. So do you think GM CEO Mary Barra is making the right moves for the company by stopping production of their best-selling electric vehicle and aiming to shift entirely into trucks and SUVs? And how do you think the production ramp of the Tesla Cybertruck will look compared to GM's ramp of its own pickups? Don't forget to watch my last video on ARK Invest's new Tesla price target. Please hit the like button and subscribe, we would really appreciate that. And a huge shout out to all of our patrons that help to support our channel. Your support helps us to continue to make great content. Thank you guys so much for watching.